The Lebanese opposition has called for a massive anti-Syria demonstration at the funeral, which begins in a few hours' time, of the country's head of intelligence. He was killed on Friday in a car bomb attack, which many blame on Syria. Lebanon's Prime Minister Najib Mikati has tendered his resignation, but he's been persuaded to stay on by the country's president.
"We want weapons," they chanted, marching past the Prime Minister's office in Beirut. Waving the flags of the country's main opposition parties, they called on Najib Mikati to resign and declared their readiness to fight. The demonstrators support the March 14th coalition, named after the date of huge anti-Syrian protests 7 years ago.
The reason why we're all here, it's in front of the government palace of the ministry, to tell the ministry that we don't want them to rule anymore, we want to change.
Protesters went on to set up tents in Martyrs Square, in the heart of the city centre. The square will be the focus of expected mass protests during the funeral of Wissam al-Hassan, the country's intelligence chief.
We came here today to repeat that we are not leaving until the Syrian ambassador and his accomplices are kicked back to Syria. We are here for all the Lebanese nation.
The Lebanese intelligence chief murdered in a car bomb attack in central Beirut is being buried today. Major General Wissam al-Hassan was among 8 people killed and 80 injured in Friday's blast. His death has inflamed anger among Lebanon's Sunni Muslims. Deep-seated sectarian tensions have been exacerbated by the uprising in neighbouring Syria. An opponent of the Lebanese government has blamed Damascus for the attack and called for a mass turnout of citizens for the funeral to rally against the Syrian regime.
After the assassination, Mikati, that man right there, offered to step down to make way for a unity government. But the president asked him to stay on in the interests of national security. Now, members of Wissam al-Hassan's family have returned to Lebanon from France ahead of his funeral. They'd been living in Paris for their own safety. Al-Hassan's murder has led to angry protests and gunmen roaming through Beirut and Tripoli. Protesters also blocked roads with burning tires.
Mikati has probably one of the most tough jobs in the country at the moment. He's trying to balance a government that's dominated by Hezbollah and its allies. They have close links to Damascus, which obviously is extremely controversial with the Syrian crisis raging on. Mikati himself, like all of Lebanon's prime ministers under the sectarian power-sharing system, is a Sunni, so he's under huge pressure from the Sunni-dominated opposition, again, Saad Hariri's Future movement. Now, that's because the Sunni community is seeing the killing of Wissam al-Hassan, a major security chief, as an attack on its community. He was close to the Hariri family. He was a big Sunni figure. He was somewhat a politicized figure, although he was also a security figure. So that's why this is really plunging this country into even more of a political crisis. There's been division for many years on the role of Syria. That's been exacerbated with the Syrian crisis, and now it threatens to, those tensions threaten to spill over once again.